Okay, page 5 of the math section of your final exam study guide. So we are applying for a $2,600 loan. We have an interest rate compounded monthly. Okay, that's going to change the formula. The formula is written here for you for 8 years. No payments, so it's just that money doing its thing. And so if we go through this process, we will have an unknown account balance. We have a starting amount of $2,600. We have a rate of 0.025. It is compounded monthly, and it's going to be raised to the number of months times 8 years. So we're dividing by 12 because we're splitting the yearly interest rate into months. And then we're applying it every month, so we have to figure out how many months go by in that amount of time. Your calculator can handle this entire thing all at once. And the total answer is $3,174.99. Okay, if you didn't get that, go back and retype it. Make sure you can get to that number. All right, 16 is similar. So for 16, I don't know the account balance again. It starts at $7,900. It's 1 plus. And then it's 0.045. And then it's weekly this time. So that means 52 because there's 52 weeks in a year. We take 52 weeks times 4 years. Okay, type all that up. And you should get $9,457.28. All right, that's 16. Let's go to 17. Same formula here. We want to determine the balance, so it seems like it's going to be the same thing again. So it's account unknown, a starting amount of $1,200. So let's just go through this. So we bought a mattress, special financing. And the way that works is you don't have to pay for the first 2 years or whatever the term says. And then if that 2 years goes by and you don't pay it off right then and there, then you do get charged interest. So they have to calculate the interest over that time, see what would be owed if they don't make that payment, and then they would charge that interest. So to get this amount, we're going to take the $1,200, and then we want to multiply by 1 plus. Now this interest rate, if I move it back to, is 0.2459. And we need to divide it by daily, so it's daily, right? So that's dividing by 365. And then in the exponent, it is 365 times 2. Now if you happen to have a calculator, I should have said this earlier, but if you happen to have a calculator that doesn't give you a box to type into when you hit the exponent button, let's just make sure that we use a bigger set of parentheses for that. Otherwise, it's not going to register as an exponent. So just be careful of that. All right, type all that up. What you should get is $1,961.98. So a $1,200 mattress becomes almost a $2,000 mattress if you don't pay it off at the end of that promotional period. So it's a great thing. Just keep in mind when you go and do that, let's make sure that you set a note on your calendar or whatever so that you know when it's time to pay it off. You don't get charged all that interest. Okay, which of the images below have a mean that is lower than the median? All right, so the mean is the calculation number, and the median would be the middle. So the only way the mean can be low is if we bring low numbers into the problem. Well, this graph does that. There's some extra low numbers at the end. This graph has most of the numbers low. So that's not going to bring it down. That's going to already be down. The left skew, or skew left, means there are more values to the left of the median dragging down the mean. So if most of this graph occurs on the right side and then we put a few extra numbers over here on the left side, those numbers on the left side are not going to affect the median because there's not enough of them, but they are going to affect the mean because they're going to pull it down. So the mean is lower than the median, which means the average is below the center. I'll write that here too. Average below center. All right, if I was looking at the right skew graph, this would mean that the mean is higher than the median because I'm adding numbers in that bumps that mean up. All right, next page. All right, so we're looking at a box plot here, and we just need to fill in all the relevant data. The minimum on a box plot can be found at the bottom, at the edge of this whisker type, and that's going to be approximately 68. The Q1 is the beginning of the box, and the beginning of the box is approximately 78. The median is right in the middle here, so that is meant to mark the median score, which is 85. Q3 is at the edge of the box, and that's 93. And then the max would be the end of the graph, and that's 98. Once you have those 5 numbers, everything else can be calculated off of them. So the range would be from bottom to top. So it's 98 minus 68, which is 30. The IQR stands for interquartile range. So between the quartiles, it's going to be 93 minus 78, and that's 15. 25% of scores were below. So remember, these are in increments of 25. So 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So if I want 25% below, that needs to be this Q3 number, or Q1 number. So that's 78. And then 75% of scores were below. So that means 25, 25, 25. So it's here, and that's Q3. And that's 93. All right, and then that's it. That's it for the interpretation on number 19. All right, number 20. Histograms are shown in ascending order of standard deviation. Explain why the histogram on the right has the highest. Be sure your answer is based on its shape and definition. Okay, so if you look at the standard deviations, we have 7.9, 15.8, 31.6. The highest one is on the right side, so why is that? So both of these are clustered around the mean. What I mean by that is there are no numbers on the edges that could increase or decrease the mean. It's just going to be right in the center. So it doesn't have to be this steep, although the steeper it is, probably the more condensed your results are. But this one also has a peak. The third one has a peak, but it's very sporadic, so it's up and down a lot, and then it's also got a lot more edge cases on both the low and the high end. So this is a more spread out, away from the mean. So the SD is higher. Standard deviation is higher. So SD equals spread. The bigger the spread, the bigger the SD. All right, so that will do it for page 6.